Sunday dinner at my parents' house had always been mandatory. 29 years of pot roast passive-aggressive comments, and my brother Brandon being praised for breathing. Tonight was no different except for the bomb Dad dropped between the mashed potatoes and green beans. "Sarah, we need to discuss your living situation," Dad said, cutting his meat with surgical precision. He was a retired bank executive who treated every conversation like a board meeting. I set down my wine glass. "My living situation is fine, Dad." "That apartment building on Maple Street?" Mom wrinkled her nose. "Darling, it's not exactly prestigious. The neighborhood has gone downhill." Brandon, my older brother, leaned back in his chair with that familiar smirk. He was 32, worked in commercial real estate for a mid-tier firm, and never let me forget that he made six figures. "Sarah's place is pretty rough, Mom. I drove by last week. Needs a paint job badly." "It has character," I said mildly. "It has poverty," Brandon corrected. "But hey, we all can't afford luxury like some people." He gestured to himself. Brandon lived in a trendy downtown loft that cost him $4,000 a month. He posted about it constantly on social media. The exposed brick, the industrial lighting, the view of absolutely nothing important. Dad cleared his throat. "Which brings us to the matter at hand. Brandon and Amanda are expecting their second child." I smiled at my sister-in-law. "Congratulations." Amanda had the grace to look uncomfortable, but she nodded. She was 7 months pregnant and they already had a 3-year-old daughter, Lily. "They need more space," Dad continued. "The loft is wonderful for a young couple, but with 2 children they require at least 3 bedrooms. Preferably 4. There are lots of family-friendly buildings," I suggested. "I could help them look." "Your brother needs your apartment more," Dad announced, his voice firm. I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your apartment has 3 bedrooms," Mom explained as if this were perfectly logical. "You only need 1. You don't even have a boyfriend, Sarah. All that space is wasted on you." Brandon's smirk widened. "Plus, let's be honest, you can barely afford it anyway. This would save you money. You could get a nice studio somewhere." "I can afford my apartment just fine," I said carefully. "Can you?" Dad raised an eyebrow. "You work at that property management company. What do they pay you? $45,000 a year. Your rent must eat up half your income." "My finances are comfortable," I said. "Which is why we've already made arrangements," Mom said brightly. "Had already packed my things into boxes in the spare bedroom. We'll help you move next weekend. Brandon and Amanda can move in the following week. It's perfect timing." I stared at the boxes visible through the doorway. My childhood books, my photo albums, my personal belongings. All packed up without my permission. Brandon raised his glass. "Thanks, sis. Finally upgrading from your dump." "No offense, but that building is a dump. At least it'll work for us temporarily until we can buy a house." "Temporarily?" I asked quietly. "Well, yeah," Brandon shrugged. 2, maybe 3 years. Just until Amanda goes back to work and we save up for a down payment. You understand." Amanda touched his arm. "Brandon, maybe we should discuss this with Sarah first." "It's already decided," Dad interrupted. "Sarah, this is what family does. We help each other. Brandon helped you move into that apartment 4 years ago. Now you help him." "He helped me carry boxes," I said. "Once. And complained the entire time." "Family is family," Mom said firmly. "Brandon has a wife and children to think about. You have your little job." "My little job." That stung, but I kept my face neutral. Brandon stood up, walking to the window with his wine. "Look, Sarah, I get that you're attached to the place. But be realistic. You're 29, single, working a dead-end job in property management. We're giving you an out. Take a smaller place, save some money, stop pretending you're living some glamorous life in that rundown building." "The Maple Street building isn't rundown," I said. "Sarah, honey, we drove by it," Mom said gently. "The exterior needs work. There was trash in the parking lot last week. It's not suitable for grandchildren to visit." Something cold settled in my stomach. "You were planning to have them visit me there? After you kick me out of my own apartment?" "Kick you out?" Dad frowned. "We're helping you make a smart financial decision. You should be thanking us." I pulled out my phone. Time to end this farce. I pulled out my property management app, the one that controlled every aspect of my real estate portfolio. The app I'd designed myself actually when I'd realized the existing options couldn't handle the complexity of my holdings. My phone buzzed with a text. Perfect timing. The building superintendent texted, "Ms. Parker approved the Harrison family's eviction notice? They're 3 months behind on rent for Unit 4B. Proceed with legal action." I turned my phone screen toward the table. Dad's fork clattered onto his plate, the sound sharp in the sudden silence. Mom leaned forward, squinting at the screen. "What is that?" "That's a text from my building superintendent," I said calmly. "About your eviction notice." "Or what?" Dad's face went red. "What are you talking about?" I opened the property management app fully, turning the screen so everyone could see. "This is the dashboard for the Maple Street residential complex. 156 units across 2 buildings. I own it." Brandon laughed, but it sounded forced. "That's not funny, Sarah. It's not a joke." I scrolled through the app, showing the financial summary. I bought the property 5 years ago for $8.2 million. Current valuation, $14.7 million. Annual revenue, $3.4 million. Annual expenses, $1.9 million. Net income, $1.5 million per year. The silence was deafening. "You're 29 years old," Dad said slowly. "You don't have $8 million. I had $2 million in savings from my previous business ventures," I explained. "I secured a commercial mortgage for the remaining $6.2 million. The property was undervalued because the previous owner let it deteriorate. I spent another $1.5 million on renovations over 2 years. Upgraded all the units, modernized the building systems, added security features, landscaped the grounds. Now it's one of the most desirable residential properties in the city with a 98% occupancy rate." Mom's wine glass trembled in her hand. "Previous business ventures?" "I started buying rental properties when I was 23, I said. "Single-family homes at first. I'd find undervalued properties, renovate them, rent them out. Built a portfolio of 8 homes over 3 years. Then I moved into small apartment buildings, 4-unit, 6-unit properties. I sold most of them to buy the Maple Street complex. It was a better investment. More units, better location, higher appreciation potential." Brandon's face had gone pale. "The property management company you work for." "I don't work for them," I corrected. "I own them. Parker Property Management. 53 employees. We manage $200 million in real estate assets across the state, residential, commercial, mixed use. The Maple Street complex is my personal holding. The rest belongs to various investors who pay us 8% of their rental income to manage their properties." I pulled up another screen. "Here's the tenant list for the Maple Street complex." Let me scroll down to the H. "Harrison family. Unit 4B. That's you, Mom and Dad." Dad grabbed the phone from my hand, staring at the screen like it was in a foreign language. "You've been renting from me for 3 years," I continued. "Ever since you sold your house to simplify your lifestyle. Remember? You wanted a maintenance-free condo. I offered you a 2-bedroom unit at a family discount, $1,800 a month instead of the market rate of $2,400. But, the lease we signed," Mom stammered. "It said Parker Holdings LLC. Pie Company." I took my phone back. "You never asked who owned Parker Holdings. You just assumed it was some faceless corporation." Brandon found his voice. "This is bullshit. You don't have that kind of money." I pulled up my banking app next, though I only showed the top of the screen, enough to see the account balance of $4.2 million in liquid assets. "Should I also show you the stock portfolio? Or the retirement accounts? Or maybe the trust fund I set up for myself?" Amanda made a small sound. Brandon shot her a look that said, "Shut up." "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice still calm. "You want to kick me out of my own apartment in my own building so you can live there temporarily while you save up to buy a house. Have I got that right?" "We didn't know," Mom protested. "You never said anything." "You never asked," I countered. "Every Sunday dinner, you've spent years telling me about my little job and my dead-end career. You've mocked my apartment, my car, my clothes, my choices. When exactly was I supposed to interrupt your lectures to inform you that I'm a multimillionaire?" Dad's face had gone from red to purple. "That superintendent text. The eviction notice. Oh, that's real, I confirmed. You're 3 months behind on rent. I've been letting it slide because you're family, but my property manager is getting concerned. We have a waiting list of 50 people who want units in that building. 3 months. Brandon looked at Dad. You said you were paying rent. We had some unexpected expenses, Dad muttered. You had a trip to Europe last month, I said. I saw the photos on Facebook. Meanwhile, you're not paying rent on the apartment you're trying to give to my brother. The same apartment that's mine. Mom started crying. We didn't know, Sarah. We truly didn't know. Why didn't you tell us? Dad demanded, recovering some of his authority. What kind of daughter hides her success from her family? The kind whose family never believed in her, I said. Do you remember when I told you I wanted to study business and real estate? You said it was a waste of time. You told me to get a real degree like Brandon's in finance. Brandon shifted uncomfortably. When I bought my first rental property at 23, I invited you all over to celebrate. You came for 10 minutes, told me I was being reckless, and left early to go to Brandon's work promotion party. That was different, Mom started. When I started my property management company, I asked Dad to look at my business plan. You know what you said? I looked at my father. You said, when you're ready to do something serious, let me know. You never looked at a single page. The silence stretched out, broken only by Mom's quiet sniffling. So to answer your question, I continued, I stopped telling you about my success because you made it clear you weren't interested. You were interested in Brandon's success. His 6-figure salary, his downtown loft, his perfect wife and perfect child. I was just Sarah with her little job. Brandon slammed his hand on the table. This is ridiculous. Fine, you have money. Congratulations. That doesn't change the fact that Amanda and I need more space. You're right, I said. You do need more space. Let me help you with that. His eyes lit up with hope. I have a 3-bedroom unit available on the 4th floor, I continued. Beautiful views, updated kitchen, 2 full bathrooms. Market rate is $3,200 a month. For you as family, I'll charge $2,800. That's more than my loft costs. Brandon protested. Yes, but you'll have the space you need for 2 children, I said reasonably. Of course, you'll need to pass the credit check and background check like any other tenant. And you'll need first month, last month, and a security deposit up front. That's $8,400 to move in. We don't have that kind of cash right now, Amanda said quietly. Then perhaps, I said gently, you should have thought about your financial situation before planning to take over my apartment without asking. Dad stood up abruptly. This is extortion. No, Dad, this is business. You taught me that, actually. You used to say that family and money don't mix. That business should always be business, emotions aside. Remember. He remembered. I could see it in his face. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing up as well. Mom and Dad, you have 2 weeks to pay your back rent. That's $5,400. If you can't pay, I'll work out a payment plan, but the late fees still apply. You're family, but you're also my tenants, and I have to be fair to my other residents. Mom nodded, crying harder. Brandon and Amanda, if you want the 4th floor unit, the offer stands. $2,800 a month. Same deposit requirements as everyone else. I'll even waive the application fee. And if we don't want it? Brandon asked bitterly. Then I wish you luck finding a 3-bedroom apartment in a good school district for less than $3,500 in this city. I shrugged. Your choice. I gathered my purse and coat. Where are you going? Mom asked. We haven't had dessert. I'm going home, I said. To my apartment. The one I'm keeping. In the building I own. I have a property managers meeting tomorrow morning. We're discussing expanding into commercial real estate. I walked to the door, then turned back. For what it's worth, I didn't want it to be like this. I would have loved to share my success with you. To have you be proud of me. But you were so convinced I was failing that you never looked close enough to see that I was succeeding. Sarah, Dad started. The rent is due by the end of the month, I said. After that, I'll have to start formal eviction proceedings. I really don't want to do that, so please pay it. I left them sitting at the dinner table, surrounded by the remains of pot roast and shattered assumptions. My phone buzzed as I walked to my car, a 10-year-old Honda Civic that I drove because it was paid off and reliable, not because I couldn't afford better. It was a text from my CFO. City Council approved the zoning change. We can move forward on the downtown development project. Congratulations, boss. I smiled. The downtown development was a $50 million mixed-use project. Apartments, retail, office space. Parker Property Management's biggest venture yet. Maybe someday I'd tell my family about it. But probably not at Sunday dinner. I drove back to my apartment, the penthouse unit I'd designed myself when I renovated the building. 3,000 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows, custom kitchen. My sanctuary. As I pulled into my private parking spot, my phone rang. It was Brandon. What? I answered. I'm sorry. His voice was small. I didn't know. I know you didn't. That was the point. I've been an asshole. Yes, you have. A long pause. Is the fourth floor unit really available? It is. But Brandon, if you move in, you're my tenant. Not my brother who gets special treatment. You pay on time, you follow the rules, or you're out. Can you handle that? I think I need to. He sounded defeated. Amanda's right. We can't afford my loft with 2 kids. And your building is actually in a better school district. Send me an application by Wednesday, I said. I'll review it like I would anyone else's. Thank you, Sarah. Don't thank me. Just be a good tenant. I hung up and rode the elevator to the top floor, looking out over the city I'd quietly conquered while my family wasn't paying attention. Tomorrow I'd deal with the downtown development. Tonight I'd enjoy the view from my dump of an apartment. Some upgrades, I thought with a smile, are invisible until you're paying attention.